Ahoy there, mateys. Welcome to the Pirates of the Caribbean movie tier list ranking video. I won't be speaking like that throughout the entire video. My name is Brandon, aka the Brando Critic, and yes, this is the ranking for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. A franchise that I definitely loved growing up, and every single time a new movie would come out, me and my family would be marking down X on the calendar and counting down the days. We loved going to these movies opening night. This was definitely a franchise that definitely really defined my love for movies. But how do they stand up today? Well, let's take a look. So our journey begins in 2003 with Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. And if you guys know me at all, then you would know that this is my favorite film of all time. Yes, my number one. So naturally, it's gonna go in love. I love this movie. So much so that I even reviewed the movie twice on my channel. I reviewed it once when I was just getting into YouTube, and looking back on it, I'm like, I need to re-review this movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. So I re-reviewed it. I did a watch along. If you guys want to watch that, it's definitely on the channel, but I'll keep it real short and sweet. This movie reminds me of why I love movies in the first place. It's that little thing called movie magic, which is hard to describe, but you just know when it's there. I love all the characters in this movie. Jack Sparrow, I mean, come on. Jack Sparrow. How charming and charismatic was he in the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie? Remember the first time you saw him? It was just completely wonderful. Will Turner, Elizabeth Swann, Captain Barbossa, and James Norrington. All the characters are likable. We have a story full of action, adventure, comedy, mystery, suspense. It's so well paced, so well executed, and it just gives us that wonderful sense of swashbuckling, fun adventure, while yet it is still pretty intense. It's not just all fun and games. This can be a pretty intense movie at times, but then we have Hans Zimmer's score. Dude, you knocked it out of the park. And of course, it pays homage to the ride pretty well. Overall, this is my favorite movie of all time. Let's keep it short and sweet. Moving on, we got Dead Man's Chest from 2006, and man, oh man, before this movie came out, I was so excited. And it met my expectations back then. When I watch it now, it shames me to say that it is definitely not as good as I remember it to be. It was never as good as the first movie. But I do still like Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, so I will put it in like. However, there are two fundamental flaws with this movie. Number one is that they make Jack Sparrow the main character while also bringing back Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann. Their stories were done. Their character arcs were finished in the first movie. They were the emotional heart of the story, and they're done. Now let's see Jack Sparrow go out on another adventure, but still be that character that you don't really know if you can trust him. He's always flip-flopping between sides, and he's always trying to, backstab people and try to work his way through different situations. That's fun. But him being the main character, it fundamentally changes the dynamic. And trust me, he's still charming, he's still charismatic, and he still has a lot of great laughs. But the dynamic changes. The core character of Jack Sparrow changes slightly. But the main problem with this movie is that the script is so crowded and convoluted. That's the main issue here. However, this is a well-directed movie, right? The production design is top-notch. The cinematography is gorgeous. The choreography for the action sequences, especially the Kraken scenes and the watermill wheel fight with Norrington, Sparrow, and Will Turner. And by the way, why would you bring back Norrington, right? Just leave him be. And we have Davy Jones, which is a great design. He has the Kraken, the Flying Dutchman, a great performance. He's menacing. He's a great addition to this movie. And of course, we have Hans Zimmer's score. I mean, Hans Zimmer's score for the first four movies, it's magical. Magical. Wonderful, spectacular, any word you want to use, thumbs up. However, this movie has so much crap going on. Like I said earlier, we bring back Elizabeth Swann and Will Turner, even though their stories were over, but they get a ton of screen time and a ton of backstory devoted to them. Their stories were over. And on top of both of their stories going on, we have Jack Sparrow versus Davy Jones, which should have been the main storyline, right? Or at least have some other characters come in and have that relationship with Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones. But then, of course, we have James Norrington brought back. And then we have Lord Beckett with the East India Trading Company. And there's so many different, relationships between all the characters and different deals going on. It's so hard to keep track. And it reminds me of Rise of Skywalker. There are many ideas in this movie that, when really looked at, could be promising. But because there's so many of them, and they don't really get the time to breathe, this movie really lacks focus. And that's a good word for the sequels. Focus. They don't have it. However, this movie does bring enough of that fun action adventure that we got with the first one that makes it a watchable movie. But it was getting really tough to watch when it came to At World's End, released in 2007. This movie is okay. But the biggest problem with it is that, one, we have to finish the story of the second movie, because the second movie was a cliffhanger. But on top of that, we have to finish the conflict set up in this movie also. So now we're juggling a previous film that had so many plot points going on, but now we have to work with all the plot lines in this movie, and it just gets completely overwhelming. Pirates of the Caribbean, the invasion of the confusing subplots, right? Like, I have them listed right here. So we have to rescue Jack Sparrow from Davy Jones' locker, right? Which takes up a huge portion of the film. Then we have Jack wanting to stab the heart of Davy Jones so that he can live forever, go on the Flying Dutchman and just be a pirate for the rest of his life. We have Will Turner still wanting to save his father, right? Because it was not resolved in the last movie. We have Will and Elizabeth's relationship troubles. I thought their stories were over in the first one. We're still on this. Then we have, spoiler alert for Dead Man's Chest, Elizabeth Swann's guilt of killing Jack Sparrow. These characters should have been done with in the first movie. And on top of that, we still have Governor Swan here, right? Elizabeth Swann's dad. Why do we need him? And then we have Lord Beckett going after all the pirates. And you know what? Having another part of the East India Trading Company, another English, right? The government after the pirates. Didn't we do this already somewhat with the first movie? Having a bunch of giant British naval ships, it looks amazing, right? When you have all the ships lined up. And Beckett, you know what? It is a good performance. But the problem is that there's so many subplots that none of them get the breathing room to really work. We can't get emotionally invested in them because the movie doesn't give us a chance to, because there's so much going on, and I'm not even done yet. We have The Song Has Been Sung, right? We have the Brethren Court with the 9 pieces of 8 at Shipwreck Cove. That should have been its own thing, right? The third movie, the Brethren Court, but now we're still trying to bring in the second movie. We have Sao Fang, and right, another group of pirates. We have Davy Jones and Calypso, the pirate goddess, and they were in love, and oh my god, we're adding more plot points on. And James Norrington is still brought back. So many storylines, and they're all going in different directions. You know what? And I was thinking about Avengers Infinity War, right? So many characters, but there's one plot line. Thanos is trying to get all the Infinity Stones, and everyone is working towards that goal, or at least to stop that goal. In this movie, it's all over the place, and it's a complete mess. And then when it comes to the final battle, right? The Black Pearl versus the Flying Dutchman. I gotta use my pirate voices for that. It should be exciting, right? It's this giant whirlpool, and these two ships are duking it out in this great giant battle. But we don't care, because we're just completely lost. And we're like, oh, this is the end of the movie now. It's been 3 hours? Oh, okay, I'm just exhausted. However, there is some light at the end of the tunnel, because now we have Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. And you know what? I like this movie. It has its problems, but this film had a ton of potential. First of all, we have Jack Sparrow in this movie, right? Shocker. But he is in top form. And we bring back an old love interest of his, Angelica, played by Penelope Cruz. Okay, I'm interested, movie. But not only is she the former love interest, but she's also the daughter of our main villain, Blackbeard. Okay, this is a dynamic that I can get behind, because now you're not entirely sure if you can trust her, just like Jack in the first movie, right? It kind of gives her that edge. And then we have Blackbeard. Great performance, great design, and a good idea for the next baddie in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. And what are they after? The Fountain of Youth, right? One goal. And when this movie starts, it starts off fun, action-packed. It's an adventure. Yo-ho, a pirate's life for me. I'm on board. The action in this movie is pretty good, right? The mermaid sequence is top-notch. And when Jack Sparrow's trying to take over Blackbeard's ship, perform a mutiny, and when he's trying to escape the Spanish camp, this is fun, swashbuckling adventure, right? It's smaller scale, but it's fun. And the comedy's back, right? I was actually laughing out loud much more in this movie than I was in At World's End and Dead Man's Chest. And we got Hans Zimmer back. All right, what could go wrong? Well, we have to bring back Barbossa. Great character, great performance, But we can't escape the past with these damn movies, and we gotta bring back the English, and Barbossa is siding with the English? What? And also, there's someone impersonating Jack Sparrow in the beginning that has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Again, just weird decision. But then we also add in, we got to get a mermaid's tear, and we got to get 2 chalices from some Spanish pirate back in the day or something like that. And you know what? The Fountain of Youth. That should be simple enough, but we got to get all these other things, and there's a prophecy involved that Blackbeard will die at the hands of the man with the wooden leg, which ends up being Barbossa. Like, this is just so tacked on. And then we have the Spanish after them also, and then we have some missionary aboard the ship who falls in love with one of the mermaids, and again, you had me, movie. You had me invested, and then you did the same thing that you did with the second and third movie. You lacked focus, and you started to just add on more plot points, and I'm trying to juggle them all. It's like, I just want to see Jack Sparrow go on an adventure to find some treasure, right? The Fountain of Youth. We have this character dynamic with Angelica and Blackbeard. Okay, now I'm invested. And then, of course, we have the new crew, which actually get quite a few laughs. That's all we need. But now we got to add in more and more and more and more. And so much so, like the third movie, this one has the most underwhelming climax. And then there's that scene at the end with Jack Sparrow and Mr. Gibbs talking on the beach. And I do really like this scene, but it just feels kind of out of nowhere, right? He's talking about why he didn't actually drink from the Fountain of Youth. He actually wanted to live forever, just like the other films. But then he was talking about how death gives life meaning, and, a yo-ho, yo-ho, pirate's life for me, that is freedom. The movie didn't really do anything to warrant that, but it is a good message, or it's a good idea to go forward with a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So it has that ending, but the movie, it gets lost in this jumbled mess. However, like the first movie, it's fun, it's action-packed, and I was actually caring about the characters more so than all the convoluted shit going on in the other movies. So I would say that On Stranger Tides is the second best Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And then we get to Dead Men Tell No Tales. Go back to any one of my reviews. Literally any one of my reviews for any movie ever. And look at any piece of praise for any movie. Whether that be the characters, the directing, the producing, the writing, the production design, the chemistry between the actors, the story elements, the action, the comedy, whatever the case may be, anything that you can rank a movie on or talk about what was done right and wrong, literally get all of them and put terrible next to it. That is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. And I honestly try to look at every single movie with an objective lens and say, okay, what do people like about this movie? Because even though a lot of people don't like this movie, quite a few people were able to get something out of this. I think this movie is absolute garbage. And it really pains me to say this. It really does, because the first movie is my favorite movie of all time. But then in the same franchise, the final film in the franchise, we're talking about this whole Karen Gillan thing. We'll see what happens there. But the fifth entry is one of the worst movies I have ever seen. Simply put, it has no movie magic, and literally everything about it, I think, is just completely terrible. The only part that I can give actual praise to is the guillotine. That's it. So that is my tier list ranking of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Obviously, number 1 being Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Next, I would have On Stranger Tides, then Dead Man's Chest, then At World's End, and then Dead Men Tell No Tales. But if you're going to go into this franchise, honestly, the second movie and the third movie are not terrible movies, right? And it is the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. But if you were going into it just completely new, I would say just stick with the first movie. It is truly amazing. Wonderful. It is my favorite movie of all time. And if you skip the sequels, I won't be mad at you. In fact, you might be saving yourself. So anyways, guys, down in the comment section down below, tell me, what is your favorite Pirates of the Caribbean movie? It's obviously the first one. But you know what? I know there's some people who really do love Dead Man's Chest. So I'm going to ask this question too. Name your favorite part from each Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And if you like this video and you want to see more videos just like it, definitely hit like and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Take care.